My mother said, "You chose to have a child. That doesn't mean the family has to reorganize everything around him." I chose my son. Why is your son's name on the invite? This is a family wedding. My sister tore up my RSVP. My son whispered, "It's okay, Mom." I hugged his head. I smiled at my sister. You're right. On January 1st, I canceled the monthly transfer of 18,500 Brazilian reals that had lasted 7 years. 7 whole years. Why is your son's name on the invite? This is a family wedding. My sister said this as if she had found a dead rat in the vegetable soup. We were in my parents' dining room, the confirmation cards scattered next to the porcelain fruit bowl that my mother insisted on keeping empty to look elegant. My 9-year-old son, Gabriel, was sitting on the edge of the table, carefully organizing the silver pens because he likes order and symmetry. Camila held our RSVP between 2 fingers as if it were something disgusting. "There's an extra name here," she said. This was obviously a mistake. "You should have only put yourself. We can't add a child. It messes up the entire seating chart." She didn't lower her voice. My mother said nothing, just went back to her list, pretending to be busy adjusting napkins that were already perfectly folded. Gabriel froze, his hand hovering over a pen. I felt that old heat rise up my neck. But I was exhausted. Exhausted from last night's dinner. Exhausted from this morning's flight. Exhausted from 7 years of pretending that my family saw my son as anything other than an inconvenience attached to their personal ATM. "I wrote his name because he's my son," I said. "And your nephew." Camila rolled her eyes. "This is a family wedding," she repeated louder. "It's not a children's event. It's adults only. Except for the children who are actually family, obviously." Gabriel looked at me. His eyes blinked in that way when he's trying not to cry in public. That's when Camila did it. She held my RSVP, tore it in half, and threw the pieces in the trash can near his feet. "There," she said. "Solved." Gabriel's mouth trembled just once. He swallowed hard and whispered, so low I almost missed it, "It's okay, Mom." I heard that like a scream. I hugged his head. I smiled at my sister. "You're right," I said. "It is a family wedding." And in that moment, I knew I wasn't going. And I knew that something much bigger than a party had just ended. My name is Marina, 39 years old, cardiac surgeon at one of the best private hospitals in Sao Paulo. I work night shifts, weekends, and holidays. I sign reports on surgeries that cost more than the first apartment I tried to buy. Lives saved and emergencies revolve around my operating room. I receive enormous emails about how I saved lives, about my exemplary dedication. My family doesn't care about any of that. To them, I'm the one who made it, which is just another way of saying, the one we can ask for money. I've been a single mother since Gabriel was a 1.5 years old. His father left when he found out I was pregnant. No drama, no return. Just a quick and complete disappearance, as if he had never existed. I work. I raise my son. I try to be present at all school presentations, even if I go straight from the hospital to the auditorium smelling of antiseptic and old coffee. My parents live in a gated community in Alphaville. My younger sister, Camila, lives 10 minutes from them. She's been engaged 4 times. This wedding is the first one that's actually happening. Technically, they call it the beginning of a new phase. They also call my monthly transfers a temporary family loan. Temporary for 7 years. Every month, on the first day, 18,500 Brazilian reals left my account and went to theirs. It started when my father lost his job at 58, fired for refusing to adapt to the company's new digital systems. Debts, car financing, accumulated electricity bills. I was finally making real money at the hospital. My mother called me crying. She said they were going to lose the house. I would cover it for a few months, I said. Just until Dad found something. We signed the papers. A proper loan contract, with interest, payment schedule, all correct. My father laughed the whole time as if it were a cute joke. "You know we would never let you down, daughter." 6 months turned into a year. Then 2. Then Camila decided she wanted to renovate her room. And somehow the monthly loan started covering the family's extra expenses. New appliances, a gourmet barbecue grill, my parents' trip to Cancun, my mother's aesthetic treatment, my father's emergency tennis club membership. Nothing that was life or death. Each time I tried to slow down the pace, there was a new crisis. The air conditioning broke. The car crashed. The grandchildren needed private school. My nephews, Camila's children. The amount stayed at 18,500 Brazilian reals because that's what covered the mortgage plus what Camila had added that year. It was easier to keep paying than to hear the complaints. Meanwhile, they forgot Gabriel's birthday 3 times. They spelled his name wrong on every card they sent. Gabru, Grabiel, once even Giovanni. They spent weekends with my nephews. They went to their school plays. They loved being grandparents, in theory. In practice, this meant pointing to photos of my nephews on Facebook and talking about the grandkids, as if Gabriel were a neighbor's child who accidentally appeared in photos. I told myself it would change. When things stabilized. When the house was paid off. When the wedding passed. I ignored how my son always ended up at the folding table with the extra chairs. How he never got his own Christmas stocking. Just a bag of candy stuffed in mine. How my mother introduced him as her son to friends. Never as our grandson. I kept thinking if I keep showing up, they'll eventually see him. They saw me. They saw my money. They saw everything except him. The wedding was supposed to be a big new beginning. New husband for Camila. New family license. She met a guy named Rafael who worked in digital marketing. It was scheduled for April, right after Easter, before my heaviest shift rotation. Bad timing for me, but I still took 5 days off. Rehearsal, dinner, ceremony, reception. Of course, Gabriel was invited. Camila had said on the phone months before. He's going to be our ring bearer. We're going to buy a miniature tuxedo. It'll be so cute. I was really excited. Gabriel had never been to a wedding. He started practicing how to walk slowly through our small living room, holding an imaginary pillow. Then the invitation arrived. I liked it. Thick paper, gold lettering, all very beautiful. Addressed to Dr. Marina Costa. Not and family, not and son. In the RSVP space, it was written, reserved seats, 1-1. Next to my name, someone had written only in black pen. I thought it was a mistake. A forgotten detail. I wrote 2-2. On the names line, I registered Marina and Gabriel Costa. I even drew a heart, like an idiot. Fast forward to the scene at the table. My sister tears the card in half and Gabriel whispers, "It's okay, Mom." It wasn't okay. Camila threw herself in the chair, already on her phone. "You can still come," she said. "Come alone. Adults' night. It's not like he'll remember anyway." "He'll remember," I said. "He remembers everything." My father entered the room holding his imported beer. "What's going on?" "Nothing," Camila said quickly. Marina misunderstood the invitation. She wanted to bring Gabriel. "You know, we don't have room for extras." I looked at my parents. My mother didn't look me in the eyes. My father shrugged. "Weddings are expensive," he said. "You know that, right?" I almost laughed. Between the venue, the dress, and the photographer, I had already shelled out almost 85,000 Brazilian reals. Discreetly, in addition to my usual 18,500 Brazilian reals monthly payments, I had paid the reception hall deposit, helped with the buffet, and sent a check to the DJ when Camila complained that Rafael's family wasn't helping at all. And now my son was an extra. I swallowed hard and forced myself to stay calm. "So, just to be clear," I said. "You want my money at the wedding, but you don't want my son." Camila rolled her eyes again. "Don't be dramatic. It's just numbers. We've already set the seats. If we add Gabriel, someone will have to change tables. And the other children are all in the wedding party, so it's different." Gabriel, still at the end of the table, picked up one of the silver pens and silently put it back in the box. His shoulders were hunched. That childish posture that says, "If I'm small enough, maybe no one will notice me." Mom finally spoke. "Dear," she said to me, not to him. "It's just one night. You and Gabriel have lots of time together. Camila only has one wedding." First, I thought. First wedding. I didn't say that. Instead, I felt something inside me shut down, like a heart monitor being disconnected. A final beep. "Thank you for clarifying that," I said. I touched Gabriel's shoulder. "Let's go, love. We're leaving." Camila blinked. "You're leaving now? Because of this?" Gabriel looked at me quickly, panicked, as if he didn't want to be the reason. It's okay, Mom, he whispered again. You can go without me. I don't mind. That broke me more than anything they said. I crouched down so we were face to face. I'm not going anywhere where you're not welcome, I said to him. Not anymore. He gave a small nod. Tried to smile. Failed. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and looked at my parents and my sister one last time. Enjoy the family wedding, I said seriously. You've made it very clear who counts. No screaming, no drama. Just that. They looked at me as if I had ruined everything. Maybe I had. But they started it when they erased my son. The wedding happened without us. I know because I saw the photos. My cousin sent me some out of pure malice, via WhatsApp. Camila in white lace, Raphael in a tuxedo. My nephews lined up like child models. Captions full of family is everything and the people who matter most. Gabriel saw a photo on my phone before I could close it. His face went still. He didn't ask why we weren't there. Just went to his room and started building a Lego hospital. When I peeked in, he had put up a sign, Marina and Gabriel's hospital. Only people who matter can enter. No grandparents. No aunts. The day after the wedding, my mother left me a voice message on WhatsApp. You embarrassed your sister. People noticed you weren't there. They asked questions. We said you had an emergency surgery. So you're welcome. But seriously, Marina, you need to stop making everything about Gabriel. You chose to have a child alone. That doesn't mean the whole family has to reorganize their lives around him. The whole family. The people I had been discreetly financing for 7 years. Being a cardiac surgeon changed my professional life. It didn't change my student loans, my apartment rent, or the constant costs of raising a child alone. But my salary was good. It meant that every month I had to choose. Do you fix the bathroom leak or pay another 18,500 Brazilian reals to people who thought your son was optional? I had done the math a few weeks before the invitation even arrived. 7 years. 18,500 Brazilian reals per month. 12 months per year. 18,500 times 12 is equal to 222,000 per year. Times 7 years equals 1,554,000. 1.5 million raise. For people who didn't put my son's name on an envelope. I listened to my mother's voice message 3 times. Then I put it on speakerphone while cleaning sterilized surgical instruments in the hospital break room. Dr. Helena, my team colleague, looked up from the chart. Are you okay? She asked. I shrugged. Just my family reminding me I'm an idiot. She dried her hands, took my phone and listened. Her face went impassive. Marina, she said. Why are you still paying for them? Because they're my parents, I said automatically. Because they needed help. Because they like your money more than your son, she interrupted. I've heard enough of your stories to know that's true. I didn't answer. Because she was right. That night, after my 12-hour shift, I sat alone in the medical break room. The place smelled of reheated coffee and disinfectant. I opened my bank app. There it was in black and white. Next scheduled transfer, January 1st, 18,500 Brazilian reals. Automatic repeat, yes. I stared at that line for a long time. Gabriel was sleeping at home, wrapped up with the teddy bear he pretends he doesn't need anymore. His backpack was on the floor near the door, the zipper half open, the school party invitation showing through the crack. All the kids in the class were invited. The teacher had written, "Siblings welcome too." No one asked if he counted. That was the difference. I thought about the RSVP torn in half. About my sister's voice. This is a family wedding. About Gabriel whispering, "It's okay, Mom," as if he were the problem. I thought about 1.5 million raise. And the next 7 years. My finger hovered over the screen. Then I did it. On January 1st, I canceled the monthly transfer of 18,500 Brazilian reals that I had been making to them for 7 years. One tap to disable the automatic transfer. Another to move all the emergency fund I kept in the joint account to a new account only in my name. A confirmation appeared. Recurring transfer canceled. Effective immediately. I took a screenshot and sent it to myself by email. Then I printed a copy and put it in a folder labeled simply, Boundaries. They noticed quickly. January 3rd, 10:47 a.m. My phone lit up with a call from my father. I let it go to voicemail. "Hi, daughter," he said. "The bank called. It seems there was some problem with the transfer this month. You'd better check it out. We have the mortgage automatically debited on the 10th. So there you go. Call me." No mention of Gabriel. No mention of the wedding. January 4th. My mother texted. "Hi dear, the account didn't match up. It was probably just an error because of the holiday. Can you fix it? We already paid the deposits for the July trip with the boys." July trip. The trip I was financing, obviously. I turned off my phone and made heart-shaped pancakes for Gabriel. He drowned them in honey and told me about a science experiment they were going to do in class. He asked if we could go camping in the summer. "Just the two of us," he said. "Not a big trip. Just you and me." "We can do that," I said. "We can do lots of things like that this year." I didn't answer my parents. January 5th, Camila called. 8 times. I finally answered on the 9th call because I was at the hospital and didn't want my colleagues to hear the messages. "What's wrong with you?" She exploded. "Not even a hi. Mom said the money didn't arrive. Are you punishing us because you threw a tantrum about the wedding?" I laughed. It came out sharp. "You tore up my RSVP in front of my son." I shot back. "You said he wasn't part of the family." My God, so dramatic. He's a child. He'll forget. The seats were limited. "But you've had full access to our bank account for years." I said it was family. "That's good then," I said. "My money stays with my family. Period. Don't Dad and Mom matter to you anymore?" She fired. "After everything they did for you?" "Like what? Raise me? Feed me as a child? That's called being a parent. It's not an investment with guaranteed returns." But I didn't argue anymore. I just said, "I'm not your bank, Camila." She was silent for a second. When she spoke again, her voice had that cold, tense tone I had heard 1,000 times. "If you do this," she said, "don't expect us to be here for you when you need us." I thought about every bill I had paid, about every emergency I had covered. "When have you been there for me?" I asked. Then I hung up. I created a rule right there. I would only repeat one phrase from now on. I will not finance a family that my son is not part of. That was it. No defense. No explanation. No justification. Just that phrase. They didn't take it well. The family WhatsApp group, which used to be memes and lunch photos, became a guilt tribunal. A terrible emotional trap. "Mom, Marina, we are your parents. You don't turn your back on your parents. This isn't done. Dad, after everything we sacrificed for you, this is how you repay us? We paid for your medical school. Or did you forget?" Camila, Raphael's parents are shocked. They said you clearly don't understand what family loyalty is. I'm dying of embarrassment. I didn't respond. That same day, I muted the group on my phone and kept the messages as unread so the blue check icon wouldn't show. They switched to email. "Marina, we're not asking for much. Just what you always helped with. Your father is stressed. His blood pressure is high. Do you want to be responsible if something happens to him? Daughter, I signed those loan papers in good faith. We'll pay you back when possible. You know that. Stopping now, when we're so close to recovering financially, is cruel." They weren't close. They had returned exactly 0 raise. I forwarded all the emails to my boundaries folder and then to another folder called lawyer, just to be sure. The only person who didn't harass me was my older brother, Ricardo. He lives in Curitiba and is quite discreet. He called one night after work, his voice low. "I heard about the wedding," he said. "And about the money." "You must have heard their version," I said. "I've heard enough of yours over the years," he replied. "I just wanted to say I understand. We stopped sending them money last year. Not for anything big. We just realized they never called the kids unless they wanted something. It didn't feel right anymore." "Do you still visit them?" I asked. "Yes," he sighed. "The kids want to see their cousins. I go, but I warn them that if they ever talk about Gabriel the way they talk about you, it's over." A tired warmth settled in my chest. "Thank you," I said. "Don't thank me," he snorted. "Thank your son. He's the only one who sent drawings to my kids at Christmas. They still have them on the fridge wall. Gabriel, with his colored pencils and careful capital letters. The one my parents never bothered to really learn anything about. The money stopped. The charges didn't. My mother sent a series of frantic voice messages in February. Marina, the bank is threatening to foreclose on the mortgage. We're behind. We need help now. Can you at least send something? Just until we sell the extra car. The extra car. The one they bought 2 years after the temporary loan because my father said he deserved something comfortable in retirement. I looked at the voice messages and typed slowly. I'm sorry you're having difficulties. I won't be sending more money. I will not finance a family that my son is not part of. She responded instantly. So you want to see us on the street? Is that it? I deleted 3 drafts of responses before deciding on none. 1 day later, Helena caught me looking at my phone in the hospital break room. Are they still insisting? She asked. Foreclosure threat, I said. Apparently I'm leaving them homeless. She raised an eyebrow. Or they left themselves. When they spent your loan on cars and trips. I sighed. Yeah. Hey, question, she said, sitting next to me. If Gabriel were an adult and was sending thousands a month to people who treat his son like an extra, what would you tell him? Easy, I said immediately. I'd tell him to stop. To take his son and go somewhere that really mattered. Helena smiled. Then listen to yourself, doctor. That's what I did. I booked a small cabin near Campos do Jordão for the week that would have been their vacation trip. It had fireplaces, a cozy kitchen, and a mountain view that Gabriel thought was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. The whole week? He asked when I showed him the photos. Just for us? The whole week, I said. Just you and me. We'll make hot chocolate, roast marshmallows, maybe go horseback riding. No tuxedo? He joked. No assigned table, I completed. He laughed at that, not fully understanding, but feeling the joke. We went in July, instead of going on the family trip. While Camila posted photos of beaches and colorful drinks with my nephews, Gabriel and I were on a forest trail, eating natural sandwiches in butcher paper. He rested his head on my shoulder. This is definitely better than a wedding, he said. He was right. The foreclosure never happened. My parents didn't end up on the street. They sold the extra car. They refinanced the house. They finally canceled the tennis club. They cut premium cable TV. They didn't die. They just had to live within their means for the first time in years. You would think that would be the end. It wasn't. In August, I received an email with the subject, Justice and Family Contribution. It was from Camila. Marina, since you decided to stop helping mom and dad, Raphael, and I think it's fair that you at least cover what you owe for the wedding. The venue and buffet deposits were made counting on your contribution. Please transfer the 65,000 Brazilian reals by the end of the month. I actually laughed out loud. The nurse closest to me jumped. I replied, I already paid the initial deposits last year. You know that. I won't send anything more. I will not finance a family that my son is not part of. She replied in minutes. This isn't about family. It's about commitments. You're making everything about Gabriel again. This was an adult decision. Be an adult. I stared at that sentence. This isn't about family. Coming from the person who shouted family wedding while tearing up my RSVP. I didn't respond. Instead, I updated the hospital emergency contact. I removed my parents and put Helena. She's the closest thing Gabriel has to an aunt who actually shows up. I changed my will the same week. No more vague clause to divide among parents. Everything went to Gabriel. A small fund for Ricardo's children. Nothing for Camila. Nothing for mom and dad. It wasn't revenge. It was math. Who really loved me was written there. The first time I saw my parents after that was on Mother's Day. Not because they came to see me. Because they showed up at the hospital. I was on duty. Crowded ward. Post-surgical patients needing constant monitoring. I was checking the vital signs of a 70-year-old man when I heard the receptionist's slightly irritated voice on my pager. Dr. Marina, there are 2 people here at the front insisting they're your parents. They don't have authorization to come up. They say it's urgent. I looked through the ICU glass window. There they were, standing near the reception, dressed as if going to a fancy lunch, scanning the hallway as if expecting recognition. Tell them I'm working, I said. They can schedule a visit another day if they want. The receptionist relayed the message. I saw my mother's mouth tighten. She said something I couldn't hear. My father started walking toward the ICU door. Helena instinctively moved to block. Security protocol, she said firmly, pointing to the sign. Unauthorized persons prohibited. Infection risk. Dad looked at me through the glass. He spoke loud enough for some visitors to turn their heads. We need to talk. I kept my tone calm. Professional. I'm working. If it's important, you can call me later. It's about family, he insisted. There it was again. That word. I finished adjusting the patient's for and walked to the door. I didn't leave the ICU. I felt that was symbolically important. I'm not doing this here, I said quietly. If you want to talk, you can call me. But if it's about money, the answer is no. Mom interjected, her eyes already shining with rehearsed tears. It's about Gabriel, she said. We haven't seen him in months. It's not fair for you to keep him away from his grandparents. My jaw tightened. You were the ones who didn't want him at the wedding, I said calmly. You were the ones who called him an extra. I'm not keeping anyone away. You made your choices. People were definitely listening now. Some visitors slowed their pace. Phones discreetly pointed. This was the kind of live drama people love to witness. Dad lowered his voice enough that most didn't hear, but I caught it perfectly. You're letting that boy ruin this family. That boy. My boy. Helena moved a little closer to me, as if she could physically hold me if I lost it. I didn't lose it. I just repeated, clear and firm. I will not finance a family that my son is not part of, and I won't hand my son over to people who think he's a problem. I signaled security. Please escort them to the exit. Mom's eyes filled with real tears this time. You're going to regret this, she said, her voice trembling. When he grows up and sees what you did. How you drove his family away. Maybe I would regret it. But I doubted it. Because Gabriel was there that night when I canceled the transfer. He was sitting at the kitchen table doing math exercises while I looked at the phone screen. I hadn't explained everything, but I told him enough. I used to give money to Grandma and Grandpa every month to help with bills, I said. A lot of money. He looked surprised. Like a lot of money? Yes, I said. A lot. Why? Because I thought that's what family does, I said. But real family takes care of each other. And they don't really take care of you. He was quiet for a second. Then he said, we're a real family, even if they're not. That was it. That was my answer. The silent distancing didn't come in a big scene. No screaming in the rain. Just small consistent choices. I stopped driving to Alphaville on holidays. I stopped sending happy birthday messages into the void. I stopped checking Instagram to see if Gabriel was in the background of any family photo. He never was. So we created our own traditions. On Mother's Day, instead of going to the awkward lunch at their house, Gabriel and I had a picnic at Ibirapura. He gave me a handmade card that said, to the best mom in the universe and the galaxy too. On Gabriel's birthday, instead of a small party where my parents would forget to show up, we rented a space and invited his whole class. Helena helped make the sweets. Ricardo came with his kids. It was loud, messy, and perfect. At Christmas, I stopped buying gifts for my parents. I put that money in an account called Gabriel's Future and took him to choose toys to donate to an orphanage. Can we do this every year? He asked, his eyes shining. Every year, I promised. On New Year's Eve, almost a year after canceling the loan, I did something I had never done. I took a whole week off from the hospital. Gabriel and I went to the beach. A simple little cottage in Ubataba, away from everything. No stable internet. No pressure. We built sandcastles. We ate shrimp pastries. We watched the sunset sitting in the sand, with him leaning against me. Mom, he said suddenly. You're happier now. I looked at him surprised. Am I? You are, he confirmed, serious. You smile more. And you don't stare at your phone looking worried all the time. I hugged my son tight. You know why? I asked. Why? Because I finally learned that family isn't who charges you. It's who chooses you back. He thought about that for a moment. Then I choose you, he said simply. And I choose you, I replied. When we returned to Sao Paulo, there were 47 unread messages in the family group. I didn't open any. I archived the group and moved on. February arrived. The month that officially marked 1 year without sending money. I received an email from my father with the subject, reconciliation proposal. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity won. Marina, enough time has passed. We're all hurt, but family is family. Your mother misses Gabriel. How about we all have dinner together? We can talk like adults. No charges, no fights. Just family getting together. What do you think? I stared at that email for a long time. Part of me wanted to believe. Wanted it to be real. Wanted my mother to really miss Gabriel, not just the money that stopped coming. But then I remembered the torn RSVP. Camila's voice saying, extra. Gabriel whispering, it's okay, Mom, as if he were the problem. I replied, Dad, I appreciate the invitation. But before any dinner, I need to know, are you ready to treat Gabriel as your grandson? Not as an extra child, not as an inconvenience, but as a real part of the family. If the answer is yes, we can talk. If not, then there's nothing to reconcile. The response came 3 days later. Short. Direct. You're being dramatic as always. We never said he wasn't family. You're the one creating problems where there are none. But fine, if you want to put conditions, then forget it. When you grow up, come find us. I smiled reading it. Part of me even felt relief. Because now it was clear. Crystal clear. They hadn't changed. They weren't going to change. And I was at peace with that. I archived the email in the boundaries folder and went to pick up Gabriel from school. On the way back, he excitedly told me about a science project. About the new friend who sat next to him. About the teacher who said he was creative. I listened to every word. Really listened. Because this was real family. This was choosing and being chosen back. And for the first time in 7 years, my bank account didn't bleed on the first of every month. For the first time in 7 years, I didn't wake up with the weight of guilt. For the first time, I was free. 3 years passed since I archived that last email from my father. 3 years since I stopped bleeding money to people who saw my son as furniture. And in those 3 years, a lot changed. Gabriel was 12 now. He was in the first year of middle school, part of the school robotics team. He had grown 10 centimeters, his voice started to deepen, and that shy boy who whispered, "It's okay, Mom," had transformed into someone with his own opinion and a quiet confidence that filled me with pride. I had been promoted to head of the cardiac surgery department. More responsibility, more money, more respect. The money that used to evaporate every month was now building something real. A house. Our house. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't a luxury condo. It was a 2-story house in a quiet neighborhood, with 3 bedrooms, a small backyard where Gabriel could play ball, and a kitchen where we could finally cook together without bumping into each other with every movement. The house had 2 floors, large windows that let the sun in, and for the first time in his life, Gabriel had a room that was really his. Not a cramped little room in a rented apartment, but a space with shelves for his Legos, a desk to study, astronomy posters on the wall. On moving day, he stood at the empty room door, just looking. "Mom," he said, his voice choked. "This is really ours? For real?" "For real," I said, hugging him from behind. "No one can take this from us." He turned and hugged me tight. "My boy, almost my height now. Thank you for not giving up on us," he whispered. I couldn't hold back the tears. Because he didn't know. He didn't know that during all those years of monthly transfers, I had postponed the dream of buying a house. I had postponed changing my car that was always in the shop. I had postponed 1,000 things to keep my parents in a standard of living they thought they deserved. And now, 3 years after stopping, I had managed to save enough for a down payment. I had gotten good financing. I had managed to give my son something no one could take away. Of course, my family found out. They found out because Camila stalked me on social media, even after I blocked her. She had a fake profile too obvious, but I left it because I didn't care anymore. I posted a simple photo. Gabriel and me in front of the new house, holding the keys, smiling. The caption just said, "New beginnings." It took exactly 47 minutes for my phone to explode. Messages from unknown numbers. My mother had bought a new SIM card to contact me. "So you had money to buy a house but didn't have it to help your family? How shameful, Marina. What absolute selfishness." While you're buying a mansion, your father's health is fragile and he can't afford medications. I hope you can sleep at night. I blocked the number. Another appeared. Camila just showed me. You really bought a house? With money that should be the family's? This is theft, Marina. I'm going to sue. I blocked that too. My father's email arrived the next morning. Subject: Final consequences. Marina, I saw you bought a property. Congratulations, I suppose. But I need to remind you that you still owe me a debt. 7 years of loans that were never paid back. I have the signed papers. I'm giving you 1 week to contact me and resolve this amicably. Otherwise, my lawyer will be in touch. I didn't want it to come to this, but you forced me. I didn't feel panic. I felt something more like relief. Finally, they had shown their true claws. I called Dr. Enrique, a lawyer friend of Helena's who had helped me organize my documents when I cut off the money. They want to sue? He asked, and I could hear the smile in his voice. Marina, you have all the transfer receipts from the last 7 years. You paid almost double what the original loan covered. They have no case. But what about the papers we signed? Send me a copy. But even without seeing it, I can guarantee, if they file a lawsuit, it'll be the best thing that could happen to you. How so? Because then everything becomes public. How much you paid, how much they spent, how they treated your son. Family court loves these cases. And I highly doubt they want that exposure. He was right. I forwarded my father's email to him with all documents attached. Bank statements. Receipts. Everything. Dr. Enrique sent a formal response on his behalf as my legal representative. The tone was polite but devastating. He attached a complete statement. 1,554,000 Brazilian reals transferred over 7 years. The original loan? 180,000 Brazilian reals to cover urgent debts. The math was simple and brutal. I had paid more than 8 times the original amount, without ever receiving a penny back. The response ended with, should you wish to actually proceed with legal action, we will be prepared to countersue for unjust enrichment and bad faith. We will also consider action for moral damages related to the treatment given to the minor Gabriel Costa, extensively documented. We await your response within 48 hours. I never received a response. The lawsuit never came. But revenge, when it came, didn't come from me. It came from a place I would never expect. 4 months after the move, I received a call from Gabriel's school. My heart raced. School calls are never good news. Dr. Marina? This is Coordinator Paula. Don't worry, Gabriel is fine. But we need to talk about an incident that happened today. I arrived at the school 20 minutes later, still in my hospital coat. Gabriel was sitting in the coordinator's office, his face red, his eyes swollen from crying. My heart broke. What happened? I asked, kneeling in front of him. I lost it, Mom, he said, his voice failing. I'm sorry. Coordinator Paula sighed. Gabriel had a verbal confrontation with a classmate. Normally it wouldn't be a big deal, teenagers argue. But the situation escalated because the other boy made comments about Gabriel's family. My blood ran cold. What kind of comments? Paula hesitated, looked at Gabriel, who miserably nodded for her to continue. The boy in question is your nephew. Mateus, your sister Camila's son. He's in the same class as Gabriel this year. Mateus, my oldest nephew. He was the same age as Gabriel. I didn't know they were at the same school now. I didn't know anything about Camila's life for 3 years. And what did he say? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. Paula exchanged a look with Gabriel. Maybe it's better if Gabriel tells it. Gabriel swallowed hard. Tears ran down his face. He said you were ungrateful. That you stole money from Grandma and Grandpa to buy a house, and now they're suffering because of you. He said you spoiled me too much, and that's why nobody in the family wanted me. He said that. His voice broke. He said I'll never have a real family, because I'm a mistake you insist on carrying. I felt rage rise up my spine like lava. And what did you answer? I asked gently, wiping the tears from his face. I said he was lying. That you never stole anything from anyone. That you just stopped giving money to people who treated us badly. Then he laughed and said his grandmother, our grandmother, said you were always selfish and that I was just an excuse for you to play victim. Gabriel, Paula interrupted gently. Tell the rest. Gabriel lowered his head. I told him that at least my mom really wanted me. That his mom was on her third marriage and that next time she'd forget her kids too, just like she forgot him in the first divorce. Heavy silence. I said. It was too specific, Paula admitted. And it hurt. Mateus started crying. That's when the teachers intervened. I looked at my son. At that boy who had heard, "It's okay, Mom," at 8 years old when they tore up our invitation. That boy who never complained about being left aside, being forgotten, being treated like a burden. Are you suspended? I asked. No, Paula said quickly. Both got detention at recess for the next week. But I thought it was important for you to know because... She paused. Because Mateus's mother has already been notified and is coming here. I thought it better for you to be present. Of course she was. 15 minutes later, Camila entered the room like a hurricane. She looked different. Thinner. Different hair. Clothes still expensive, but not as expensive as they used to be. She stopped when she saw me. You, she spat. Camila, I said calmly. Pleasure seeing you too. Your son attacked my son. After your son attacked mine, I corrected. With lies that clearly came from you. Lies? She laughed, hysterical. You abandoned our family. You bought a house with money that should be helping our parents. Paula raised her hand. Ladies, please. The children. Camila looked at Gabriel with such hatred that I instinctively placed myself between them. This is all his fault, she said, pointing. If you hadn't had this boy, everything would be different. You could have really helped, been part of the family, but no. You had to prove something by raising a child alone, and now you want everyone to applaud. Enough. My voice came out low, but with a firmness that made everyone in the room freeze. You can hate me all you want, Camila. You can say whatever you want about me. But never, ever talk about my son like that again. He didn't ask to be born into a family that only values how much money you have in the bank. A family you destroyed. I destroyed it. I took a step forward. I who paid 1,554,000 Brazilian reals over 7 years? I who covered your wedding, our parents' trips, Dad's new car, your kitchen renovation? I destroyed the family when I stopped being your cash cow? Camila went pale. You're exaggerating those numbers. I opened my purse, took out a folder I always carry. Yes, I had started carrying it because I knew this day would come. I threw it on the table. All the receipts. 7 years. Every transfer. Every emergency. Every lie about when they'd pay me back. Read it. Paula cautiously opened the folder. Her eyes widened. Camila didn't look. She didn't need to. She knew. Mom and Dad are suffering, she said, her voice breaking now. Dad had a stroke last month. A small one, but he had it. The medications are expensive. They're selling the house. I felt a pang. Small. But it was there. I'm sorry about Dad, I said honestly. But that doesn't change anything. You had years to organize yourselves. Years of my money that you spent on luxuries while telling me it was an emergency. We are your family. No, I said softly. You're not. Not when you tore up Gabriel's invitation. Not when you called him an extra. Not when you made it clear he'd only be welcome if he came with a check in hand. Camila looked at Gabriel, who was leaning against me, my hand on his shoulder. Something passed across her face. Something that could be remorse, or maybe just exhaustion. Did he really say that? She asked quietly. About me forgetting Mateus? Paula coughed uncomfortably. Gabriel, to my pride and horror, looked straight at her and answered. Yes. And I shouldn't have said it. It was cruel. He paused. But you were cruel too. You and the whole family. My whole life. So maybe we're even now. My son. My incredible son. Camila opened her mouth. Closed it. Grabbed her purse. I'm taking Mateus home, she said to Paula. I think it's better if they're in separate classes next semester. I think that's a good idea, Paula agreed. Camila stopped at the door, looked at me one last time. You're really not going to help? Not even now with Dad sick? I sighed. I can give you the contact of a very good social worker at the hospital. He helps families get access to medications through SUS and support programs. For free. I paused, but money? No. Never again. She laughed without humor. You've changed, Marina. No, I said. I just stopped putting myself last. She left. Gabriel and I stayed another 20 minutes at school, talking with Paula about boundaries, about fights, about how to deal with emotions. She was kind, understanding. In the car, going home, Gabriel was quiet for a long time. Mom, he finally said, do you think I went too far? I thought carefully before answering. I think you were honest. Maybe more honest than you should have been in a school environment. But I don't think you were wrong. Just, next time, try not to stoop to the level of whoever's attacking you. You're better than that. Like you? I laughed. Love. I daydream about the things I could have said to your aunt. But in the end, silence spoke louder. And our happy life speaks even louder. He thought about that. Do you think Grandpa will be okay? I hope so, I said honestly. But even if he's not, it's not my responsibility to save him. Not anymore. Does that make you sad? A little, I admitted. But it doesn't make me regret it. He nodded, processing. I'm not sorry either, he said. For what I said. Just for saying it at school. I should have saved it for when I'm older and can send a letter or something. I laughed so hard I almost had to pull over. 3 weeks later, I received an envelope in the mail. There was no return address, but I recognized my mother's handwriting on the address. Inside, a single sheet of paper. A handwritten letter. Marina, your father is better. You didn't ask, but I'm telling you. The doctor said he was lucky. We're selling the house. Not because you stopped helping, although that accelerated things. But because we finally admitted we can't maintain it anymore. We're going to a smaller apartment. Simpler. Camila told me about the incident at school. About what Mateus said. About what Gabriel answered. She also showed me the papers you had. The receipts. I didn't know it was that much. Your father always handled the finances. I'm not apologizing. I don't know if you'd accept it anyway. But I need you to know, I see now that we failed you. And we failed Gabriel. I remember him at 8 years old, organizing those pens on the table. I remember how he always tried to be tiny, invisible, so he wouldn't bother anyone. I remember how you looked at him with so much love, and how we just ignored it. I have no excuse. It was easier to see him as a problem than to admit we were the problematic ones. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just saying I know. I know we were terrible. I know you did the right thing. And I know that boy is very lucky to have you as a mother. Take care. Mom. I cried reading that letter. It wasn't a proper apology. It wasn't a reconciliation. But it was acknowledgement. It was the first time my mother admitted she had failed. It didn't change anything. It didn't change the past. It didn't change my decision. But somehow it closed a cycle. I kept the letter in a box in my closet. Maybe one day I'd show it to Gabriel. Maybe not. I was still deciding. Life went on. Gabriel graduated from school with honors. He entered university with a full scholarship in engineering. He grew up to be a good, kind man who treated people with respect, but who also didn't accept being treated as less. In the following years, I saw my parents occasionally. At Gabriel's graduations where they showed up uninvited but discreet. At a distant uncle's funeral. Always polite. Always keeping distance. Ricardo continued to be present. His kids and Gabriel were close. They were the family we chose. Helena became Gabriel's unofficial godmother. She was there at every achievement. Camila I saw once, 5 years after the school incident. It was at a medical conference where I was a speaker. She was in the audience. She worked with events, apparently. After the talk, she approached. You did really well, she said, without the aggression from before. Thank you, I said cautious. We stood in awkward silence. Mateus entered college this year, she said. Law. That's good. Gabriel is in engineering. I know. I saw on Ricardo's Facebook. More silence. I'm sorry, she said suddenly. For the wedding. For the way we treated Gabriel. For everything. I looked at her. Really looked. I saw exhaustion. Maybe even growth. I accept the apology, I said. But it doesn't change anything. She nodded. I know. I just wanted you to know. We said goodbye politely. We never really talked again after that. And it was all okay. Because my life wasn't about them. It never was. It was about the boy, now man, who whispered, "It's okay, Mom," when he was 8, but who learned from me that it's not always okay when people treat you badly. And that it's right to defend yourself. It was about the house we built together. About the traditions we created. About the Christmases where Helena made dinner and Ricardo brought the kids, and we filled the room with laughter. It was about finally understanding that family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shows up when you need them. It's who chooses you back. It's who sees your child not as an accessory or a problem, but as a person who deserves love. And when Gabriel graduated from college, 10 years after that day I canceled the transfer, he made a point of having me go up on stage with him. "None of this would be possible without my mother," he said in his speech. "She taught me that sometimes loving someone means protecting them from people who don't know how to love right. And she taught me that it's okay to choose yourself when no one else does." The audience applauded. I cried. And in that moment, looking at my son, brilliant, graduated, happy, I knew it had been worth it. Every penny I stopped sending. Every ignored call. Every holiday we spent just the two of us. It was worth it. Because my son knew he was loved. Unconditionally. Without checks attached. Without expectations of returns. And that was my final revenge. It wasn't suing. It wasn't exposing. It wasn't destroying. It was being happy. It was building a life so full of true love, that those who discarded me were left on the outside looking in, realizing too late what they had lost. And when my father died, years later, Gabriel went to the funeral. Not out of obligation, but because he had grown up to be kinder than those who weren't kind to him. He stood by my side while I processed complicated feelings for a man who was my father but never was my son's grandfather for real. And when we got home that night, Gabriel hugged me and said, "You did everything right, Mom. Everything." And I finally completely believed that. If this story touched you in any way, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories of overcoming injustice. Your comments and support make all the difference for other people who may be going through similar situations. Until the next story.